For generations, Central Park has served as New York City's Green Heart, a masterpiece of landscape architecture designed as an escape from bustling city life.
It is one of the great American works of art, one of the great civil constructions of the 19th century that's premised on a very simple idea, that the connection to nature is a critical antidote to the intensity of living in an urban environment.
In the mid-19th century, visionaries Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux conceived of something revolutionary, a vast public park that would serve as a democratic space accessible to all New Yorkers. Today, this 843-acre park draws over 40 million visitors per year, with attractions like the Pond, the Central Park Zoo, and Sheep Meadow. However, despite its dramatic topography and natural features, Central Park's north end has remained largely overshadowed. For most New Yorkers, the north side of the park, which starts at 110th Street, feels secluded and removed from the surrounding community due to outdated infrastructure dating back to the 1960s. But soon, that's about to change. In one of the most ambitious projects in Central Park's history, a $160 million transformation is underway, thanks to the groundbreaking work of the Central Park Conservancy and their team of architects.
The Central Park Conservancy is really kind of a critical element in the stewardship of the park. We are really become focused experts on the design, restoration, and now long-term care.
The previous facility had done so much damage to the ecology of the park, to the hydrology of the park, to the vision, frankly, of Olmsted and Vaux, that many elements of what we're doing bring that back. This project is both a very, very modern, contemporary intervention in the park, but it's also a restoration project.
This was such an amazing collaboration to try to make something that's profoundly important, resonant with the place, its history. This is a project of a lifetime.
This collaboration began with the redesign of the Harlem Meer Center, formerly known as Lasker Rink and Pool. Where a fortress-like structure once stood, a new facility is emerging that seems to disappear into the landscape.
The whole idea from the beginning was, how do we integrate architecture and landscape together to make it one? And so I think it means an attitude about design that preferred creating a framework for people to engage the park in the park experience.
The genesis of this project was to create programs while really concealing, disguising, minimizing the impact on the park. So what you see at the end of the day is really park, and the park really weaves in and around and over this building.
When the Lasker Pool opened in the 1960s, it provided a vital recreational space for the surrounding Harlem community that often felt overlooked. But it did come at a cost.
The facility that was there was really a big obstacle to the Harlem community, in particular, exploring the rest of the park. You had to go up to go down, and you had a truck dock that was, the terminus of this beautiful walkway. When we began the project, it was really about discovery. So we met with the community on multiple occasions. We met with them for sort of design workshops, and we took them in the park and walked them through the park.
The design includes a remarkable 3-in-1 facility that transforms with the seasons. In summer, it's a swimming pool. Come winter, an ice rink, and during spring and fall, it becomes something entirely new to this part of the park. A vast green space for community gatherings.
The pool itself, it's this beautiful elongated ellipse. It will be filled with a scaffolding system, and that scaffolding sets the datum for a platform. During the spring and fall, it's have the green on top. So it's a layering of pieces to then accommodate the rink that gets put on ultimately, and then removed in pieces and then brought off site and brought back on.
The design also dramatically improves access between Harlem and the rest of the park. New pathways and sightlines create inviting connections where barriers once stood.
If you come through from the west side along the ravine and the watercourse, you'll come through this historic archway where you used to actually come to a truck dock and think, oh my God, I'm lost. And now you'll see a beautiful landscape, and if you come from the east and you're on a path, you won't realize you're on top of a big monumental gathering space.
Achieving this vision meant overcoming enormous technical challenges. teams had to excavate massive amounts of Manhattan schist rock while keeping the park's historic roads intact. The project also restores natural waterways that were buried beneath concrete decades ago. Every aspect of the design required careful consideration.
Everything on the project site is intentional, and there's a design gesture behind it. All of the boulders you see used across the site when you dial in on it were produced as part of the rock excavation. We went through a very calculated exercise of how much stone we'll be able to reuse in stabilizing the shoreline. That also connects plant communities and collects the kind of ecological piece to it.
The new facility's sustainability features set new standards in public architecture. The building will achieve LEED Gold certification using locally sourced materials and innovative systems for water management. It's not air-conditioned. Instead, the building uses natural ventilation through its pivoting doors.
Stone is primary, and it's a retaining wall that weaves in to the building. It becomes the back wall of the main gathering space, which is really a porch in the summer and then a warming hut in the winter. So stone and glass. And the glass, which is bird-safe glass, are 14-foot tall pivot glass doors, and they'll open up into the beautiful outdoor room. That transparency and connection between inside and outside was our thinking in trying to reinforce the building fitting into the natural setting. We have a beautiful wood overhang, bleeds right into the interior, the whole ceiling of the gathering space, and then we have a beautiful composition of green tiles.
The $160 million project represents an unprecedented partnership between the city and the Central Park Conservancy. New York City contributed 1/3 of the funding, while the Conservancy raised the remainder through private donations. Beyond its technical achievements, the restoration is about community.
This facility will be open 12 months a year. Obviously serve the pool and rink, but serve other park goers for all kinds of purposes, whether it's grab a cup of coffee, we'll use the restrooms, serve as a gathering point for tours or races or what have you. So I think having a year-round facility will be a much different experience for the community than what was there before.
The new Harlem Meer Center is set to open this spring and represents a radical rethinking of how architecture and landscape can work together.
Central Park is more than just a local park. It's in many ways, I think, the world's park. As long as the park is here, the general frame of what we've created, it's not about leaving our mark. It's about aligning that with what the original purpose of the park was.
People will really remember about the first moment they came here and they were walking along the path, the park path, and then didn't realize, but they're on top of a building and they come down the stairs and all of a sudden they're in this secret garden and surrounded by the landscape. So you'll be really aware that you're in this beautiful park, Central Park, and its legacy is really being brought back through this project.
What was once a barrier will now become a gateway, welcoming visitors for generations to come. For Cheddar, I'm Chris Castellino.